This consumer update is brought to you by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Eli Lilly, the maker of Prozac, was the first company to be exposed for hiding antidepressant studies with unfavorable results. A 1988 document that Eli Lilly held secret for 10 years indicated that 3.7% of Prozac users attempted suicide, which, according to CNN, is 12 times higher than for other medications. This same paper showed that 2.3% of users suffered from psychotic depression, which is double the rate for other antidepressive drugs. In one paper called Activation and Sedation in Fluoxetine Clinical Trials, the authors wrote that Prozac produces nervousness, anxiety, agitation, or insomnia in 19% of patients. These research papers were misplaced for approximately 10 years, and it appears that Eli Lilly went to great lengths to hide them from the public. They became public only after an anonymous source provided them to the British Medical Journal, which then published them. Eli Lilly maintains that they were never missing, and, moreover, that they are insignificant. Stamped across each document is the key phrase, Fentress Confidential. Fentress is the name of one of the victims of a Prozac-induced shooting.
The news is alarming. First, we learned that the makers of antidepressants like Prozac and Paxil never published 1/3 of the results of their drug trials. Then we learned that Congress is investigating if similar data was withheld by the... All of this makes you wonder just what millions of Americans are taking and if, in fact, consumers are being taken. Americans should know the whole story about the drugs they're taking. As the editor of the New England Journal of Medicine put it, you wouldn't buy a stock if you only knew 1/3 of the truth about it. Why should Americans have to do that with drugs?
We have been led to believe that antidepressants are well studied and examined for safety and efficacy before they are approved. Yet the studies that are used for the approval of new drugs are typically funded and conducted by the same companies that are trying to sell them. So scientists are compelled, from the very beginning, to get only the right results. For a typical drug approval, there are no third-party or independent tests, and no testing whatsoever is performed by the FDA. The safety and effectiveness of new drugs is based on an honor system that the government tacitly encourages the drug companies to violate. Regulators for any given drug are often on the board of trustees for those same companies. The incestuous relationship between the petrochemical companies and government is commonly known as the revolving door. Another way in which drug studies are manipulated is the handling of patients who die during drug trials. Test subjects who die are flatly ignored, as if they had never existed, and this standard drug company policy is justified with claims that the dead individuals did not complete their studies. After all, having dead test subjects might bias the conclusions of the study. There are also in place official policies at the pharmaceutical companies which disallow suicidal patients in any of their studies. In practice, this ban translates into encompassing all depressed patients, since depressed patients always test to have stronger suicidal tendencies than the general population. So in the vast majority of cases, official antidepressant drug trials are never tested using depressed subjects. Doctoring the results in this manner is the standard practice, and it's FDA approved. Antidepressants, and particularly SSRIs, have been the subject of a large number of court cases, due to the drugs causing patients to act irrationally, impulsively, and as if they had no conscience. Emotional blunting, in other words. Lawsuits have provoked certain drug companies to publish so-called defense manuals that are secretly provided to prosecuting attorneys. These manuals provide attack strategies for the prosecutors. They have been designed to ensure that the drugs are never blamed for criminal actions, even when the relationship has been established. A Zoloft-specific defense manual was unintentionally made public due to its use in the Chris Pittman trial. It was obtained and publicized by Court TV. This Zoloft defense manual dishonestly claims that Zoloft reduces violent behaviors, and that nobody has been given a reduced sentence due to Zoloft intoxication. Pfizer's defense manual states that previous trials concerning SSRIs, such as Prozac, are irrelevant, ignoring the similarities inside this class of drugs. These so-called defense manuals are intended to manipulate agents of the courts in order to shift blame from the pharmaceutical drugs onto the unwitting victims of pharmaceutical intoxication. Something is inherently immoral and likely illegal if it involves secret evidence meant to satisfy corporate agendas at the expense of due process. Our inquiries have shown that, in most cases, prosecutors cooperate with the drug companies to the point of illegally concealing these manuals in direct defiance of established discovery procedure requirements. Perhaps worse is the fear plaguing most of the expert witnesses, whose testimony could suggest that they have drugged patients into criminal activities, because such an admission would be a terrible career move. Thus, ironically, experts are often the least credible witnesses in these cases due to their need for self-preservation. It is similar to the way in which mafia organizations stop members from witnessing. If everybody has a skeleton in the closet, then nobody is going to speak publicly about the crimes. These are a handful of the congressional recipients of pharmaceutical payola from the year 2008, which has helped to ensure that honest drug investigations have not taken place.